Are you ready?
Yeah, baby.
Are you ready?
Always. Pick it up.
I saw you were with them last night. I saw you were with them last night. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper.
Yeah, that's a Billy D coming to a venue near you soon, very soon, folks. As soon as I get those other 4 or 5 songs cut, I plan on getting a business card together for Billy D. And I'm told I got to get a QR code that'll point them to whatever's streaming place I want to be. They can listen to my genre. If they like what I'm doing, plus the cover songs that I'm doing, then I'm going to go play for you for an hour or 2. I'm not still sure about 3. I'm going to need help if I need 3. But we'll see how it goes. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Bill Miksch. This is 101.5 FM WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin, coming to you live from the studios in Round Lake Heights, Illinois. This is your Insurance Corner, and we will continue our discussion with regard to Medicare and just covering the basics before I get into more meat of what we wanted to talk about tonight. I've just finished a discussion about what Medicare supplements are for Part C. So also Part C is referred to as Medicare Advantage. Oh, by the way, I should say Medicare Supplement is also known as Medigap. You'll hear that too. Medigap, Medicare Supplement, same thing. Medicare Advantage plans are completely different. Completely different. They can be HMO plans or PPO plans. Some of them can look, smell, and taste like a Medicare supplement, but by and large, most of them work like HMO or PPO plans. A lot of them, as you have seen on TV, have no premium. Some of us kind of shake our head going, how does that work? How do they make money if they're not collecting premium? The federal government, folks, is subsidizing the insurance companies to the tune of billions of dollars to offload the medical care from their shoulders to the insurance carriers. So you'll see a variety of different companies on TV, and when you turn 65, or about probably 6 to 9 months before you turn 65, you are going to get slammed with mail coming from every direction. Buy us. We're the best. Buy us. We're the cheapest. Buy us. We've got the best network. Buy us. We've got the lowest out-of-pocket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Your eyes are going to start to water with the stuff that you're going to see. And as I said earlier, this stuff doesn't get taught until you're right up against it, and then you're scrambling for what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So a Medicare Advantage plan is a insurance policy offered by an insurance carrier that is a network-based, like an HMO or a PPO plan. But unlike Medicare supplements or Medigap plans, they will include dental, they will include vision, they will include hearing exams, they will include gym memberships, they could include food assistance, but they will also have out-of-pockets ranging from $1,500 to upwards of $8,500, depending on the network, the plan, how robust or how small. They could have an in-network out-of-pocket. They can have an out-of-network out-of-pocket. If you're in an HMO, there's only one out-of-pocket. If you go out-of-network, short of an emergency, you're on your own. But a lot of these plans have these things baked in. Now, I'm not licensed to sell these, but I would happily help a client navigate their way through and make a decision that's right for them. I have family members in my personal life that have chosen a Medicare Advantage over a Medicare supplement. In those cases, they're happy with the doctors, they're happy with the care. In the cases that I'm familiar with, both don't have any premium, both have food assistance, both offer gym memberships. Both offer hearing aid and dental and vision care at some level. Now, I want to put an asterisk to dental and vision, particularly, because a lot of times the dental plan will say one exam a year or one eye exam a year. It won't include, the vision won't include necessarily contacts and glasses. It might, but it might not. If you want an upgrade, then the salesperson is going to say, oh, well, if you want implants covered, it's going to go from $12 a month upwards to $60 a month, and there's a 1-year waiting period, as an example. Vision exam might say, oh, you want more than $100 allowance and you want contacts and glasses covered, then it's going to cost you $40 a month instead of $12 a month or $11 a month. So you just have to be paying attention to what it is that your individual needs are. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. None. I can tell you in Illinois is more of a Medicare supplement state, curiously enough. In other states, like in the East Coast, particularly Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, that tends to be more Medicare Advantage than Medicare supplement kind of stuff. So it just depends on what's filling the need of the consumer and what the consumer is willing to deal with. If they don't know the difference between a Medicare Advantage plan and a Medicare supplement plan, they're going to default. And this makes perfect sense to me from a logical standpoint. If you don't know what you don't know, that you're going to pick the one with no premium, and you're going to pick the one that may have your doctor or your hospital. You might say, well, I can change the doctor, but I want to keep that hospital. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to pay attention. You'll have other clients that say, I don't want to be limited to XYZ hospital or XYZ doctor. I want to be able to go see who I want, particularly since I'm traveling from one place to another on a regular basis to go see my family, or I'm a snowbird or what have you. Medicare Advantage plan may not be your answer. And where people get stung is that they like their plan until they have to use it. And suddenly, if they see that they're all of a sudden have to pay $5,000 or $8,000 out of pocket, that gets a wake-up call to them, and now they're looking at other options to see, can I get out of this thing and get into something like a Medicare or Medigap plan with a $240 deductible. So let me just expand that a little bit. So with Part C, when you first turn 65, or when you first are not eligible, when you're first signing up, it will be the first of the month that you turn 65. Or it'll be the first of the month in which you're retiring. So if you're going to retire on, let's say, July 20th, it'll be the first of the following month. So August 1st, you're going to be on Medicare, Part A and B, and then you're going to pick your supplement or Medicare, Medigap, or Medicare Advantage plan. You have an open enrollment on that first initial stage of your enrollment into Medicare, Part A, B, C, and D, which I'll get to in a second. After your first initial enrollment, particularly into a Medicare supplement or Medigap plan, 6 months after that, if you for some reason want to get out of that plan, the vast majority of carriers around the country will say, well, Sean, you're going to have to be underwritten. We reserve the right to ask a bunch of medical questions, and we can decline you. Unlike Obamacare, where you can't be declined, in the Medicare supplement world, you can be. You can be, and they can't rider you, but they can certainly say, we don't like you. I had a client who had diabetes and neuropathy, and they said no. They didn't blink an eye. They just said, no, not taking her. Medicare Advantage, however, has an open enrollment. So once you pick a Medicare Advantage plan, unless you move out of the service area, you are stuck with that plan for the full year, period, full stop. On October 15th through December 7th, there is an open enrollment. And that open enrollment allows you to navigate to a different Medicare Advantage plan. It is not in an open enrollment for Medicare Supplement. So if you still want to move to a Medicare supplement, you may have to go through underwriting. There is one carrier in the United States that will not underwrite you no matter your age, and that's Blue Cross of Illinois. Every other Blue Cross, AARP plan, Physicians Mutual, Cigna, Shifting Sands Insurance Company, I'm drawing a blank at some of the other carriers that are out there, Humana, for Medicare supplements, they will all underwrite. Blue Cross of Illinois is the only carrier left in the country that will not underwrite at all. So if you're concerned about, if you live in Illinois and you're concerned about being able to qualify for a Medicare supplement and you've got some moving parts, be advised that in Illinois you've got a place to go. In other states, it won't be that easy. So that's Part C. Part D is drugs. That's prescriptions. That program was created back in 2003 by the George Bush administration, and it has evolved over time. It specifically covers your prescriptions, because prior to 2003, prescriptions were not covered. If you are enrolling late for whatever the reason, you decided not to enroll in Part D as in David, or you just didn't want to, you didn't see the need for it, or you had a discount plan like GoodRx or Single Care where you were getting your drugs, and then you sign up 10 years later, which I had a client do this, you're a 1% per month penalty. 1% per month penalty. So my client who waited 10 years before signing up for Part D suffered a 120% increase in his premiums for Part D. Another difference with Part D is that your copays, unlike your employer-based plans, which are typically flat dollar amounts for the most part, not always, but for the most part, in the Medicare supplement world with Part D, you're going to have, in a lot of cases, a $575 deductible, today's dollars, for tiers 2 through tier 6. And you're going to pay a percentage, not a flat dollar amount, for tiers 3, 4, 5, and 6 in a lot of cases. Or you could pay a flat dollar amount for tier 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6, it's a percentage. That's while you're in the phase before the so-called donut hole, or they call it the gap 2. I still call it the donut hole. The donut hole is the space where you have gotten to a part, and I think it's around where the prescription real cost, not what you paid, but the prescription cost has reached about $4,500. And give me a little bit of leeway on that, it might be $4,800. Once you get into the donut hole, this has been fixed a little bit. You pay a 25% copay for all the drugs, tiers 1 through tier 6. So your copay could actually be higher in the donut hole than it was when you were not in the donut hole. And once you get outside of the donut hole, for some plans they'll cover you 100%. For others they'll cover you up to a 5% copay for all the drugs. Now, in 2025, which is less than a year from now, the government has put a maximum out-of-pocket cap on prescriptions. So as of January 1st of 2025, your maximum out-of-pocket, not including your premiums, is $2,000. That's pretty good, especially for those clients who have really, really expensive drugs. I have a client who takes Rebif, which is an injectable drug for MS. It's $9,000 a month. And she would hit that maximum out-of-pocket in 1 month. In her case, as long as the Rebif is covered by the prescription program she has chosen or the Medicare Advantage plan that she has chosen, in 2025 she'll be capped off at at $2,000. Let's talk about the lifetime penalties here. I mentioned earlier that if you sign up late for Part A and B, you could suffer a penalty. So let's talk about when you're supposed to enroll. When you're ready to enroll, either when you're turning 65 or when you're about to retire, 3 months prior to your birth date, the first of the month in which you're turning 65, or 3 months prior to when you're going to go into Medicare. That's when you go to Social Security and apply for Part A and Part B. You've got 3 months prior, the month in which you're actually going on the plan, or eligible, if you will, or entitled, and then 3 months after. If you miss those deadlines, there is going to be a penalty of 10% that could hit Part A and Part B, and you may be subject to a different open enrollment where I think it's between January and March, you can sign up for Part A and B, and then it doesn't go into effect until July 1st. So you definitely want to make sure you're paying attention to not enrolling late. And this is where I say get good advice from your advisor, people like me who do this every day. Make sure you're seeking good advice so that your client is taken care of. It's not complicated, folks, and it shouldn't be. And one size does not fit all. And for those agents that sell just Medicare supplements, that's okay. Just Medicare Advantage, that's okay. If you do both, that's okay. Just make sure that your client knows what their options are. I don't sell Medicare Advantage plans, but I'm happy to help with them. I don't sell prescription card programs, but I'm happy to help with them, and I often do for free. So it's just a matter of getting good counsel, understanding what the moving parts are, and keep in mind, as you get older, the stuff isn't going to get simpler. It's more complicated. And as you get older, sadly, there's more moving parts that you have to pay attention to. I mentioned that there are penalties for late entrance. It's 10% a year for Part A and 10% a year for Part B, and 1% per month penalty for Part D if you're late. And that Part D can be sizable if you wait too long. I mentioned before that pre-existing condition clauses can be applied by Medicare or Medicare Supplement or Medigap plans. Again, keep in mind if you're going to want to move from one carrier to another, that you're going to have to go through medical underwriting. And you can do that anytime you want with a Medigap plan. Anytime. No problem. Knock yourself out. If you move out of a service area, you might have to underwrite because the carrier you have might not go with you. You have to pay attention to that too. Medicare Advantage plans, if you definitely move out of the area, let's say you move from here to Georgia, Chicago to Georgia, you're definitely going to be allowed a special enrollment situation for Medicare Advantage plans. So you want to pay attention to that. And with all that said, this can be very confusing. As smart as you want to be, as diligent as you want to be, at some point your eyes are going to water so bad you're not going to be able to read the material on the paper you're reading. So make sure you get good help and good advice. So with the last few minutes here, let me tell you what's not covered with Medicare. Medical diagnostics or exams or treatments that are medically unnecessary as deemed by Medicare. Long-term care, nursing home care, custodial home care, dental care. Again, this is original Medicare, folks. Vision and hearing tests, routine foot care, international medical care. Part A is not covered at all. Part B will actually pay 80% up to $50,000. Couple things about that. There are international policies that you can buy for pennies on the dollar, and not only will they cover you 100%, but they'll fly you back if you need to be repatriated. However, there is some medical underwriting, and there are definitely 5-year look-back pre-existing condition clauses that you want to pay attention to. So if you're older and you're going to Europe for 3 weeks and you've got a heart condition, you want to make sure that you're getting an international plan that either one, covers pre-existings, or two, at least you know it's not covered, and you're just kind of rolling the dice and you'll hope to God that you won't have an incident. But I would definitely engage in international policy. There's also a ambulance program. An international policy will fly you back to the nearest hospital in the United States, not your home base. There is a separate ambulance policy that you can buy that will fly you home. Okay, so it's a very reasonable price. A couple of my clients I've done it. They've not used it, thank God, but they have definitely bought it to give themselves some peace of mind. Cosmetic surgery is not covered. Deductibles and co-payments are not covered. There's no maximum out-of-pocket in the original Medicare. So if you just buy A and B and you're on your own, it's 80-20 forever, folks. There's no cap. I mentioned long-term care, but long stays in the hospital, after about 90 days, things get a little bit more dicey. And you can actually use up all of your hospital care if you're not careful. I don't think I've ever seen one. I've seen people get close, but I don't think I've ever seen one in my career where a person has used up all of their Medicare Part A benefits, particularly Part A. Skilled nursing facilities, you have to, if you're going to go into one, you have to be in the hospital for 3 days. And it used to be that hip replacements and knee replacements got you there so you can rehab. That's not the case anymore, folks. Knee replacements in some cases are overnight, or not even overnight stays. Sometimes they're even outpatient. Same with hip replacements, depending on the circumstances. Now, of course, if you're older and you've got some moving parts, like a heart condition that you have to pay attention to, you might be able to stay a day or two in the hospital a little longer. I mentioned excess charges before. Excess charges are covered by your supplement, but they're not covered by Medicare, original Medicare. Well, folks, we're coming to the top of the hour. If I can see the clock, my screen just went dead, so I can't see what time it is. Come on, help me out there. There it is, 6:57. So we're going to end that show with excess charges. We're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about Medicare and the things you need to be paying attention to. The topic next week will be the 10 questions that you should ask about Medicare. And what was the other one? The 10 Medicare mistakes and how to avoid them. That's what we're going to cover next week. So with that, I have a little, if I can find it here in my stack of material, I have 12 quotes to read to help you be more optimistic. I'm not going to read all 12 because I don't have time, but I'm going to read a couple. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. That was Martin Luther King. Optimism isn't a belief that things will automatically get better. It's a conviction that we can make things better. Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' ex-wife. I always like to look on the optimistic side of life, but I am realistic enough to know that life is a complex matter. Walt Disney. One of the things I learned the hard way was that it doesn't pay to get discouraged. Keeping busy and making optimism a way of life can restore your faith in yourself. And the one I like to say, there's a few more here. We'll cover a couple more maybe next week if I remember. The one I like to say is, when I was young, I knew everything and I was dumb as rocks. And the older I get, the dumber I am for the things I don't know. So I continue to learn to make sure that I stay on top of my game and to stay relevant and to stay competent for my family and my clients. And with that said, my name is Bill Miksch. I'm president of WDMA Financial Group in Grays Lake, Illinois. This is your Insurance Corner at 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. Wishing you adieu. See you next week, folks. Have a great night.